do the locking up." The doctor, head bowed, prepared to obey. The detective took up a candle to light their path. Then he turned to the others for a moment. "Better get the young lady to bed," he said with a gruff kindliness of manner. "I think that I can promise you a quiet night from now on." "I'm glad you think so, Mr. Anderson," Miss Cornelia insisted on the last word. The detective ignored the satiric twist of her speech, motioned the doctor out ahead of him, and followed. The faint light of his candle flickered a moment and vanished toward the stairs. It was Bailey who broke the silence. "I can believe a good bit about Wells," he said, "but not that he stood on that staircase and killed Dick Fleming." Miss Cornelia roused from deep thought. "Of course not," she said briskly. "Go down and fix Miss Dale's bed, Lizzie, and then bring up some wine." "Down there? Where the Bat is?" Lizzie demanded. "The Bat has gone. Don't you believe it. He's just got his hand in." But at last Lizzie went, and closing the door behind her, Miss Cornelia proceeded more or less to think out loud. "Suppose," she said, "that the Bat, or whoever it was shut in there with you, killed Richard Fleming. Say that he is the one Lizzie saw coming in by the terrace door. Then he knew where the money was, for he went directly up the stairs. But that is 2 hours ago or more. Why didn't he get the money if he was here and get away? He may have had trouble with the combination. Perhaps. Anyhow, he was on the staircase when Dick Fleming started up, and of course he shot him. That's clear enough. Then he finally got the safe open after locking us in below, and my coming up interrupted him. How on earth did he get out on the roof?" Bailey glanced out the window. "It would be possible from here. Possible, but not easy." "But if he could do that," she persisted, "he could have got away too. There are trellises and porches. Instead of that, he came back here to this room." She stared at the window. "Could a man have done that with one hand?" "Never in the world." Saying nothing, but deeply thoughtful, Miss Cornelia made a fresh progress around the room. "I know very little about bank currency," she said finally. "Could such a sum as was looted from the Union Bank be carried in a man's pocket?" Bailey considered the question. "Even in bills of large denomination it would make a pretty sizable bundle," he said. But that Miss Cornelia's deductions were correct, whatever they were, was in question when Lizzie returned with the elderberry wine. Apparently Miss Cornelia was to be like the man who repaired the clock. She still had certain things left over. For Lizzie announced that the Unknown was ranging the second-floor hall. From the time they had escaped from the living room this man had not been seen or thought of, but that he was a part of this mystery there could be no doubt. It flashed over Miss Cornelia that, although he could not possibly have locked them in the darkness that followed, he could easily have fastened the Bat to the door. For the first time it occurred to her that the arch-criminal might not be working alone, and that the entrance of the Unknown might have been a carefully devised ruse to draw them all together and hold them there. Nor was Beresford's arrival with the statement that the Unknown was moving through the house below particularly comforting. "He may be dazed, or he may not," he said. "Personally, this is not a time to trust anybody." Beresford knew nothing of what had just occurred, and now seeing Bailey he favored him with an ugly glance. "In the absence of Anderson, Bailey," he added, "I don't propose to trust you too far. I'm making it my business from now on to see that you don't try to get away. Get that?" But Bailey heard him without particular resentment. "All right," he said, "but I'll tell you this. Anderson is here and has arrested the Doctor. Keep your eye on me if you think it's your duty. But don't talk to me as if I were a criminal. You don't know that yet." "The Doctor?" Beresford gasped. But Miss Cornelia's keen ears had heard a sound outside and her eyes were focused on the door. "That doorknob is moving," she said in a hushed voice. Beresford moved to the door and jerked it open violently. The butler Billy almost pitched into the room. End of chapter 17. Recording by Alan Winterroud. Boomcoach.blogspot.com